Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Content Warfare TV. Today, I'm excited to have Oli Gardner, the founder of Unbounce, with us today because this is the topic we're going to talk about is something that I think we all understand is important, but never actually put enough time into. And so, having Oli here to talk about conversions, about landing pages, all the little nuggets, all the little tips, tactics, higher-arching theories that are really going to help us understand how to better convert web traffic and visitors into leads, subscribers, whatever we're looking for. Things that we need to have on the forefront of our mind. Oli, it's great to have you here, man. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on, Ryan.
So, Oli, let's kind of get us to Unbounce, right? Like, what is your background? Where did what's your kind of training or experience that got you to create this company and focus on landing pages and conversions?
Right. Yeah, sure. Going way back, I started as a hardcore programmer in the financial district in London about, I don't know, 17 years ago. Then I kind of transitioned through many roles. Front-end coder, then interaction designer, around a usability team for a while. I think the usability thing, that's when I first really started getting into having a strong opinion about how things related to conversion and interaction should work. So 5 years ago almost, Rick Perot, he's our CEO, he had an idea. We've worked with marketing departments or in marketing departments in the past, and we've seen this need for people to have landing pages, but they can never get them done. So that's where the idea from Unbounce was born. And yeah, we have 6 co-founders, which is really strange, but it worked out really well for us. And one of the reasons is because we didn't need to hire anybody for 18 months, because we could do everything ourselves. And yeah, we just kind of decided, hey, let's stop working for someone else and do our own thing.
So that's a really interesting 6 co-founders. So before we actually get into conversion, I actually want to talk to you a little bit about that as far as starting a business, right? So that's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. Like, how did you work just all the different opinions and ideas? Like, do you guys just a good natural fit, or was there some kind of process and some bumps and stuff that you guys had to work through and decisions you had to make?
Yeah, well, we've all worked together on and off in different companies, like different clusters of us, like 4 of us here, 5 of us there, for the last 14 years. So we'd already, had enough arguments over the years to kind of get past that and understand how to work together with each other. There's quite a lot of overlap in what we can do, like our skill sets, but essentially our strongest elements were different. So, we had someone to do the financial and business side. We had we had several coders, like front end, back end. I became a marketer the day we started the company. So, like, we need a marketer. I'll do it. So, yeah, that was born out of necessity. So that was really interesting. I mean, I think I did a massive guest blog post for Moz way back in the day called The Noob Guide to Online Marketing. Basically, that was a description kind of my journey for the first 6 months, like how I became a marketer. So that was really fun, just kind of documenting how it all worked.
Yeah, I believe that. So, so you have a background in coding, right?
Yeah.
And for people who are unfamiliar with landing pages, their need for them, there's so many businesses out there that don't even really focus on capturing or converting anyone to do anything, right? They just put information out on a page and expect some sort of magic to happen. So let's start. I want to start at the very basic part. Like, this is the stuff that is probably like way below anything you really want to talk about. Like, let's start there and get into kind of just what is a landing page and kind of what is its purpose? Like, how is it different than any other page on our site?
Yeah, for sure. Well, a landing page is a page designed specifically for a marketing campaign. Your homepage, your website, that's designed for organic exploration. Think of it in these 2 ways. Your website is designed on user-centered design principles. So usability best practices, all this kind of thing, so people can explore, they can find the information they're looking for. That's when people are in research mode. A landing page, though, is this focused, dedicated thing for your campaign traffic. and you use conversion-centered design. It's a different thought process because all you're thinking about is making this campaign successful. And one of the reasons why landing pages are so successful is because they only have one thing they can do, one call to action. So they ask a yes/no question of your visitors. So if your campaign doesn't work, you know why. It's just this page. Whereas if you send campaign traffic to your homepage, it's really hard to understand why they're not converting because they can go all over the place. So that's one of the most fundamental reasons why a dedicated landing page is effective for your marketing.
Isn't a big part of it too, and again, I am the neophyte here, so I'm going to bounce some questions off you, and don't hold it against me if I don't necessarily sound like I know what I'm talking about. But isn't a big part of it too, like that paralysis of decision? You know, like if you send people to your homepage, like you said, there's 15 things for them to click on, so they may not click on anything, right? By removing the choice, you're giving people a more direct path to the next step.
Yeah, well, that's something I call attention ratio. So when you're running a campaign, you have one goal always, if you're doing it correctly, right? I can't, subscribe to your blog, start a free trial of your software, register for a webinar, download an ebook, right? Every campaign has one goal. When you send someone to your homepage, there are, on average, maybe 40 to 60 things, links or interaction points. So the attention ratio is 40 to 1. Like there's 39 things you can do. Well, 40 things you can do and one thing you should do. So yeah, every link is a leak that's taking someone away from the intended goal of your campaign.
Yeah. So I love this. We already have a good question. Amelia asks, so landing page is not within your website, or it is?
Technically speaking, a landing page is any web page that you can arrive on. A dedicated campaign-specific landing page is not part of your website. It stands alone. The only way in is from how you're driving traffic from your campaign, whether that's email marketing, paid search, banner ads, social, you're tweeting about something. You send them to this page that it's not on your website because you don't want them to leave, go somewhere else. You want them to focus entirely on just this page. Usually you'll have it stuck on a subdomain, so we'll share a link from a landing page we did for this later on. It's try.unbounce/content-warfare. So it's associated with our domain, but it's not actually on the website.
Yeah, and that that's one of the things that Unbounce does that I like about your service. And we're not going to make this a commercial about Unbounce, but obviously this is what you do for a living, so we're going to reference some of the things that you do. Is that it does, even though it's not technically your domain exactly, it still feels very much like the domain of the website. So the person who's going there doesn't feel like they're being sent to some completely different place. Like if you're using an Infusionsoft landing page, it feels completely different. The URL is different. It's got a bunch of variable and characters in it. So I do like that about Unbounce in particular, is that it does still feel, as far as what the URL is, as if you're on that same platform.
Yeah, for sure.
And do you find that type of, so, because this is something that I think that Amelia's question is coming out of, and I know that for people who aren't as familiar with landing pages and this type of tool, is how much should the page that you're sending them to feel like your site in general? Should it capture the colors, the look, the text, all that stuff exactly, or is it okay if it has a slightly different feel?
You need to stay on brand. Obviously you have your logo in there, but you should follow the style guidelines of your website. So using the same palette, same fonts, all that kind of stuff, because this isn't a one-shot deal. You want to keep working with these people as you progress with them as a customer or whatever. So they're going to go to your website at some point. So yeah, you want that experience to match.
So let's kind of talk a little bit about the basic elements of a landing page. Like what are some things that let's start very basic, so not the 201 course. This is 101. What are a few of the elements of a page that someone should consider when they're creating it, whether they're using a service like yours, which has some of those features built right in for them on a template, or they're just putting a page together based off their WordPress site, trying to build it there? What are some basic elements they should think about having?
Yeah, so for a landing page, there are 5 essential elements. You will have many elements on your page, especially the more complicated you're offering, the more information you need. But there are 5 essential elements. So with these 5 things, the type of things that people need to know will be communicated. Whether you do it right or not is another thing, but you need these 5 essential elements. So that starts with your value proposition or your unique selling proposition. So this is typically your headline and the subhead, which communicates what the page is about and why you should care. People are very impatient, so you need to grab their attention immediately. So it should be a succinct statement about what this page is going to be about, what your offer is, what your company's about. So that's the starting point. If people believe in that or they're interested in that, then they'll progress. So the second thing is your hero shot. This is a term that comes from photography. It basically means it's the main visual representation of what you're offering. So it can be a photo or it could be a video, it could be an illustration. Ideally, this shows context of use. So it demonstrates how it will feel for me to use your product, what that actually kind of looks like. So maybe that's if you have software, maybe it's a video showing a little bit of a demo. If it's, let's say, a little staircase for your kitchen that helps you reach a higher shelf or something, you'd have a series of photos maybe of someone standing on it to reach a higher shelf, and then it folded up and being put away. So it communicates the benefits of using this thing in the way it will actually be used in real life. The third one is your benefit statements. This is a short communication of following on from the value proposition, a bit more detail why I should care and how this is going to solve my problems. Fourth is elements of proof. So this can be social proof. We've all heard of this. Social proof being some kind of validation from someone else that what you're offering is valuable. So this could be a testimonial. This could be accreditation symbols or something like that that validates that what you're saying is actually true and of value. Sometimes a more modern version of a testimonial could be a tweet, from Twitter, someone saying, "These guys are great. I love what they're doing." I find they're actually a lot more believable than the standard type of testimonial, because people feel that, oh, that's happening right now. Someone's talking about them. There's an air of believability there. Testimonials are actually a really, really tough thing because they're very subjective. Some people believe them, some people don't. So it's something you really have to test putting on your page or not. But you do need some kind of trust signal. And finally is your single call to action. This is the interaction point of your page. That's that one thing you want people to do. It's the conversion goal of your page. So, which will be a button, or more, if you're doing lead generation, it will be a form with a button on it. This is the campaign. This is the conversion goal of your page. So a conversion is when someone completes your intended action. And the conversion rate is the percentage of people coming to the page that complete that action. So they're the 5 essential elements.
Yeah, okay, so there's a lot to dig in there. I love that. Okay, so let's start right at the beginning with some follow-up questions there, because headline, subhead. So I was reading actually, I think I was reading an article on your site. It was not recent. It was maybe like a month ago, and it was talking about being direct in headlines. At least somewhere in the article, it was talking about being direct in headlines. And the research was like a lot of people try to be cheeky or add some sort of obscure reference to make it seem eye-catching, when really a direct, like, this is what you're gonna get, and here's like it was like 98% of this, get this if they do this. That was like the headline. And so talk to me a little bit about headlines in general, and in particular to these landing pages. Like, what is a couple good headline strategies, or just some things to keep in mind when thinking about headlines for a page like this?
Yeah, clarity always beats clever. We test this all the time in our email marketing. We can do A/B tests of the subject line of the email, and whenever we try to be cute or clever, it never performs as well as the straight to the point, very clear one. And that's exactly right for the same for your landing page. So let's think about our value proposition, our headline on Unbounce.com. It's build, publish, and A/B test landing pages without IT. So this is what you can do. You can build, publish, and A/B test landing pages without IT is the benefit. So it's what it is and the benefit to me. That's very clear. If it was something like landing pages are amazing and 5 million people, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a bad one. It's hard.
I'm not going to make you come up with a bad headline on here. Don't worry about it.
But, or Donald Duck loves landing pages. I mean, it's just being clear, and that's what you want it to be, fairly easy to digest. So usually not very long. That's the benefit of using a subhead. So you make a statement and then you have a little bit of clarification underneath that kind of explains it a little bit more.
Yeah, I love that. Clarity always beats clever. I mean, I haven't done, obviously, the testing that you guys have, but I know just from my own personal experience, sending out emails, blog posts, and I think this is a mistake that a lot of people make early in their career of creating content in the digital space, whether it's for a landing page, blog post, or whatever, is you feel like to stand out, you have to use these obscure references and be, kind of piece all this together, when really what people want is just, what am I actually going to get if I click through to this thing, right?
Yeah, so that's a good point. The clever or innovative or things like this, that's advertising. That's not marketing. That's when you're doing an ad and you want to capture someone's think of it like this. An ad captures attention, your headline holds attention, and the design of your page focuses the attention. Right? It's all about conversion is all about attention.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to have a crazy ad, that's fine and capture someone's attention. Then that did get their attention, so it's okay then to repeat some of the copy or some of the headline from your ad on the page at that point because it got someone's interest.
Yeah.
But that's the only circumstance where I'd recommend doing that.
I love that. You're like a quotable machine right now, so just keep it up. I'm loving it. All right, so that's perfect. I love that. Let's move on and talk a little bit about the hero shot. So digging a little deeper into that, I see a lot of companies doing like these little animated 1.5-minute videos, like almost like little explainer videos. Is this the purpose of this? From I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about what I've seen in my own work, and I'm saying the purpose of this is this is where you get the emotional connection, right? Am I wrong in that? Like the headline drew them in, okay, this is what you're going to get for this thing, and now the hero shot is what grabs like the emotional side of the consumer and gets them down to step 3. It's like, okay, I see this is something I want. It makes sense for my life, for my business.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm emotionally invested. Is that what you're trying to do with the hero shot?
Yeah, exactly. And again, this is clarity, especially if it's an image. You want someone to immediately understand. Like imagery is processed by our eyes much faster than text is. So again, clarity wins out, especially if it's an image. But with the video, yeah, explainer videos are all the rage now. We're actually just working on one for ourselves. Yeah, and usually the shorter the better for that type of thing. But it's a way of communicating what your offer really does. Think about some of the best examples. They're cheesy and terrible, but think of Slapchop or ShamWow, those infomercials. They're so good at demonstrating how this thing will fit into your life. Because that's the important part. That's that connection that you're talking about, is being able to say, if you use this, this will happen to you. This is how it will change your life, without sounding overly dramatic. But it will. It will change your life in some little way. And I'm showing you now exactly how that will be.
I think that screaming guy in the video actually said, this will change your life. I think he actually used those words as he's wringing out the water from the ShamWow.
Actually, there's a question came in about this attention thing. So your ad captures attention. The headline of your landing page holds their attention. So I've been interested. I clicked on the ad. Then I come to the page. The headline must match your ad, because when it does, it's like, oh yeah, I'm in the right place. I click this, and now I'm in a place that matches that. That's message matched, the copy of your ad being matched on the headline on the page. So that holds my attention, because I believe I'm in the right place now, because you've matched that experience. And then how you design your page visually using directional cues, contrast to make things stand out, encapsulating something in a box. The design focuses your attention. So capture attention, hold attention, and focus attention.
Yeah. That's okay. Good. I'm glad we got a little follow up on that. And big shout out to Tia Kelly in the audience, kind of working behind the scenes for both of us here, kind of bringing that to our attention. So, all right. So headline, hero shot. We're feeling really good. We see that there's something that we need. We have a little bit of emotional connection to it because we've seen this hero shot, and now we have benefits. When we're thinking about benefits, can you overdo it with benefits? Because I think that's something that I've kind of read, and I know I personally have a propensity to, you want to list all 117 things that could possibly work with this product for them, right? Like, what makes a good benefit on one of these pages? Like, what is something I should pull out to share with people? Like, how do I find that good benefit?
Yeah, I mean, the mistake people make is that they talk about themselves. It's feature driven. So we do this. We're the best at this. With our tool, you can do this, 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 and there's a million things to consider. You need to flip that. You can start with that, but then flip that. And what is the impact on me from using that feature? That's how you need to structure it. And you're absolutely right. You don't want to put. Well, it depends. Think about. Typically, you want maybe like a short intro and then 3 bullet points. That's often enough. But if it's, say, a very technical product, think of a camera or a computer. In that case, you want a lot of tech specs because some people are going to research in that way. But typically, just a few really simple things make you go, okay, this is of benefit to me. I understand. So now I'm gonna click this button because you've attached a couple of things to me. It doesn't have to be every possible thing.
Yeah, that actually, I'm gonna kind of skip out of the next 3 to 5 for just one quick second because something you said there kind of hit on a question that I have that I'm very interested in is the long form landing page, right?
Yeah.
So you have if let's say you did have 117 benefits, so you give them the 3 at the top. Obviously, you don't want to list all 117 on right there because that may be more than people need. Is that when you start to see these longer pages? So maybe down the page a little longer, you would add more of the benefits so that people who are really looking to research could get that? Or I get maybe in a broader sense, what is your belief on these long form landing pages that have like 6 opt-ins throughout the page versus a nice clean at the top, bang, here you go, click this button?
They work. They're the secret behind those pages and why they work. I mean, they come off as a little scammy, but they work because they tell a story, and they suck you in more and more and more as they go. That's not the type of page I do. It's not really relevant to our product. That's more for a sales page where you're trying to sell an item right now, like a $15 thing or something.
Yeah.
But definitely, I mean, going back to if you do have a lot of features, if people are in research mode, you can put that further down the page. Often, maybe you put it in a collapsible area, so it's not overwhelming. You don't have this page that just looks like, I've got to consume all this information. You treat it like a question. If you're interested in this extra information, click this and don't take them away. Open a light box or something with extra information, or expand that area of the page. So it's on demand, basically. And this is where testing comes in. How much information is appropriate for your product.
Yeah. So a good question just came in, and there's a bunch of questions we're going to get to. Thank you, everyone. Trust me, if you've asked a question, I have it pinned, and we're going to get to it, no doubt. But Joey just asked a question, I think, which kind of plays off of what we're talking about here. Is this different, free versus a paid product? If you're just trying to get like a new subscriber versus trying to sell a product, is that long form versus short form? Is that is it really just come down to testing, or are there some kind of tried and true things that we can think about when we're going, getting a free subscriber to, say, our email list versus selling an ebook or something that we just wrote?
Yeah, definitely if something's free, you don't need to communicate anywhere near as much because the decision there is really about, am I willing to give my email address up for this thing? You should be able to communicate something free very, very quickly. And if it's for an ebook or something, or subscribing to a newsletter, or signing up for registering for a webinar, This is pretty low barrier stuff, you know. Just have, you know, a couple of form fields. It depends. Let's say you are a consultant and you have a service. This is where, when people are doing lead generation, collecting emails, the conventional wisdom is a short form is better. That's not always the case. If you have a sales team or something, or you want you're trying to acquire customers for your service, often a longer form that gathers more information is good because you're adding friction to the process, which takes the people who aren't really going to become a customer. It takes them out of the picture. So yeah, sometimes asking for more is actually beneficial.
Yeah, and you see that in like HubSpot, a lot of the like HubSpot, Marketo, like if you,
Mhm.
I mean, you're constantly, if you ever signed up for anything once by accident to them, you now
Yeah.
get 1,000 emails a week, and all of them take you to landing pages for ebooks that have like 17 forms that you have to fill
Hmm.
out,
Yeah.
which as much as I like hate myself, occasionally I do fill that form out and get the ebook. There are usually a piece of valuable information in there somewhere, but yeah, you can see that they kind of have done that to weed out people who wouldn't necessarily be interesting. So that does make sense.
Yeah, I mean, especially for them, they have a complex product. So their entire marketing goal is to get people to sign up for to get people on a demo. So that's why they add that friction in there so that they don't have hundreds of thousands of people who just wanted that ebook. They actually have people that are qualified for their product.
Yeah. And it looks like Amelia has a quick follow-up question too to this free versus paid here. So basically what she's asking is if you're giving away something for free, uh, top, bottom, really it's about testing, right?
Yeah, and this question is there something free at the very top, like how to PDF? Uh, yeah, I mean, for a PDF, it should be a really simple page. Like it really shouldn't be long at all. You've got the title, you've got a picture of a book or something, you have your form, you have the table of contents or something, and you have someone who's read it saying this is great, or maybe you have a preview, you have a little slideshare deck. You know, this is a place where you can put slides online. You can embed it in your page to show the quality of your content. You know, have a look. You can see a little snippet. That's the same as the Amazon model of look inside the book. Right?
Yeah.
That's a trust signal in itself because I'm saying I believe in the quality of my content, so I'm willing to show you a bit of it ahead of time, so that you know
That's
that.
actually incredibly powerful. There have been books that I probably would not have bought in, wow, would not have bought if I hadn't read like the first chapter. So that
Mhm.
is that the giving people a little piece of that. I'll tell you, little self plug because it's my own show and I can do whatever I want. For my own book, which is in pre-order campaign right now, I give away like 9% of the book. It's not just one chapter. It's actually over 6,000 words. I give them a huge excerpt, basically saying, which you can download, read, consume, do whatever you want with before you ever have to, before you have to purchase the book. And I do that because I want people to get a taste of the thing, right?
Yeah.
And I've had people come back to me already and say, reading that excerpt is why I decided to pre-order your book. And a couple people even said I would have just pre-ordered the ebook. I pre-ordered the hard copy, which is $15 more expensive because I had the opportunity to read that excerpt. So that's actually a really, really good piece of proof, which you would think I knew what I was doing, leads us into number 4, which was these elements of social proof. So
Yeah.
you said something I find very interesting, and that was that and maybe I got this wrong, but you said like embeds of a tweet of someone giving you props or like a Facebook post of someone giving you props can be much more powerful than just copying pasting text in maybe with their picture. Can you go a little deeper on that? Because I thought that was a really good insight.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it has a little bit more believability because the Twitter handle is visible. Like, so it's not just Bob Davies from Nebraska. It's someone that actually exists on Twitter that you could actually go and look for
Yeah.
and validate that this person's actually real. Because that's the biggest thing with testimonials: is this real? There's a page I use an example in presentations. It's for a service where the company will sell your motorcycle, and they have 3 testimonials at the bottom with 3 photos. And the way I describe it looking at these photos is grandmother, magician, grandmother who likes playing tennis. That's what they look like. I don't believe that these people ever had a bike, or they may have like 30 years ago, but they're not selling a motorcycle right now.
Yeah.
So sometimes silence is better than BS. If it's not real, don't put it on there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've never heard anyone say that those really have powerful that are powerful before. The only ones that I think that may work are if you have someone who in your niche or industry is very highly recognizable, right? So like, I mean, if Seth Godin gave my book a recommendation,
Yeah.
then I wouldn't need to have a embedded tweet from Seth in my page. If I
Yeah.
put his picture and him in there, people are probably assuming that I'm not doing that without his permission. So in that case, that would probably be a case where it would be okay, right?
Yeah, very much so. If you have a recognized authority saying that you're good, then yeah, you've got to sell that hard and really
Yeah.
let people see that.
So other than testimonials, what other pieces of social proof work? So we talked a little bit about giving, and this isn't social proof. This is elements of proof. I'm sorry, because that is a good distinction. So we talked a little bit about giving people the in a little look into the product itself. So like an excerpt or the first chapter on Amazon. We talked a little bit about testimonials. What other pieces of proof could someone potentially use?
Um, there can be sometimes there are trust badges, like security badges, things like that. I'd be wary of those. There have been a lot of A/B tests that show that sometimes that's overload. So you have a form or a button, you're about to do something, and then you see all of these trust symbols like a McAfee secure or all of like a padlock and all this kind of stuff, and you're like, why are they trying so hard to say that this is a safe place?
Mm-hmm.
That gives me cause to pause because I'm like, why are they doing this? So you have to be careful with all elements of proof. Um, I'm trying to think of other ones.
What about like as seen on these
Yeah,
places, or as have I've been mentioned in Forbes and Inc. and those kind of stuff. Do those have cred?
right. Yeah. So those are the other two things. There's as seen on, and then there's here are our existing customers. So there's two sets of logos. Uh, yeah, I imagine they do work, but I think there's a trend happening where, because you see this on every page, where it'll have like five big name brands that these are our customers. Banner blindness is this thing that occurred with ads many years ago, where ads are always in the same position, so you just start tuning them out because the ad's there. I don't want to look at that. I'm not interested in ads, so you stop actually reading them. It's the same thing with this, I think, where this is so common that you're like, another bunch of these things. Do I pay attention? It's something that you have to test,
Yeah.
whether they're going to have benefit. One thing we have seen though is video testimonials can be a lot more powerful than text, because then there's that element of believability that they spent the time to actually interview this person, and yeah, that can be effective.
Yeah, I can believe it. The as seen on things. I get why people do them,
Hmm.
but like you see like Fox Small Business News,
Yeah. Yeah.
Forbes, New York Times, over and over and over again,
Hmm.
and I think to myself like. The person has probably been quoted. Someone probably reached out to them, but I mean, I use Haro to answer questions and stuff, and I
Yeah.
could say that I have been on all those things having used Haro, but to me, it almost feels like a little. I would be uncomfortable because
That's
really what
correct.
I did was use a service to reach out to them, and yes, they ended up using a quote for me or something, but um, it's a little different than I'm so awesome they reached out to me and wrote a story about me, right? Right? Like,
Yeah. So if you can show this exceptional thing that happened, you can have a screenshot of what actually happened in this publication. That can be beneficial.
yeah,
But if you were just in a blog post somewhere buried in the New York Times, which probably has like tens of thousands of posts, like hundreds a day or however many, and someone mentioned you among a list of other service providers, that's not a valid reason to, I was
yeah,
mentioned in Forbes. You were mentioned in passing.
yeah. And I think I don't want to say that everyone does that, but sometimes it just feels if you have every major brand, you've been mentioned in every major publication that can possibly be relevant in your niche. I
Yeah.
just feel like, ugh, I don't know. Now I'm starting to not believe you. It's like you said with all the badges, with the secure transaction
Yeah.
badges. Like, it starts to feel less authentic when you have everyone. Like, no one gets mentioned by everyone unless you're Richard Branson or something. Like, it just doesn't happen. So,
Yeah.
all right, so that makes sense. Before we get to the call to action,
Mhm.
because probably not the most important thing, probably the least important thing, but before we get there, uh, you guys at Unbounce have been kind enough to put together a little landing page. It's going to be an example for people to check out of a landing page, so
Yeah.
you can check that out and not take the offer. But then on the landing page, there's actually going to be an offer for Content Warfare listeners and viewers. So can you just talk a little bit about what that is? And I think Tia is going to pop it into the comment stream right now, and I will make sure that I have it on the show notes page later on as well. So just talk a little bit about that real quick before we move on.
Sure. Yeah, it's basically an offer for you to try out Unbounce if you want to build some landing pages. It's a very simple platform. We have templates, lots of templates, so you can quickly get started with a page, and then you can run tests, that kind of thing. It's 50% off for the first 3 months after the 30-day free trial. So you can just jump in for a free trial, and if you like it, 50% off for the 3 months after that.
That's awesome. So that's something that I'm definitely going to be inviting in. My landing page situation is a friggin' mess. Just all over, somewhere on some page. Ugh, I just don't even want to. I don't even want. It would be embarrassing for me to describe it to you right now. So maybe we'll talk about that after the show. But so that's a great offer. I appreciate that very much. And
Yep.
if you guys do nothing else, go to the landing page and just check out the page itself and get a feel for what a landing page feels like. To answer Denise Davis's question about will these landing pages be separate web addresses or on the same web address, we talked about that very early in the show, Denise, so you may have missed it. But there's a lot of different ways you can do it. How Unbounce does it is subdomains. So you'll get to check that out and see kind of how that feels. So yeah, definitely check that out, and we'll make sure that the link is in the comment stream if it's not already very soon. So let's move on to number 5 of this list, which we didn't have planned, but you gave me stuff to talk about for all this time now, because that was perfect. Let's talk about call to action. Like, what constitutes a call to action? Why do we use call to actions? Where do they go on the page? So let's talk about calls to action.
Yeah. So the call to action is that single interaction point on your page. It's what you want someone to do. It's that button, that form. That's the conversion goal of your page. And there's several things you need to do with a call to action. You need to make it stand out. So there's a lot of people talk about button color. Button color is irrelevant. It's button contrast that's important. Right? It's important that your button stands out from the rest of the page. Say you have a dominant green hue on your page because that's your brand palette. Then you want, in that case, you might want a red button because it really stands out from the green. But again, 8% of men are colorblind, so you need to. That's why contrast is incredibly important. And then it's the copy, the text on your button. That is the call to action. That's the thing that you have to get people excited about clicking based on reading that. And a simple way of thinking about it is the text on your button should answer the question, I want to. So I want to download my free ebook. I want to register for this webinar, that kind of thing. So it should always answer that question because people have that question in their head and that answers the question. So it's a very natural flow for someone to go, oh, okay. And there's one thing that's really, really important, something I'm studying a lot right now, is something called stop words. This is having a word or statement close to your call to action that makes people think. It makes them cause to pause, like I talked about earlier. So it's very common when you have a form, people have a little trust statement there saying, we will never spam you. I wasn't thinking about spam until you put it in front of my face. That's a terrible thing to do. I've seen an A/B test where just putting that in there decreased conversions by 68%. Similarly, I saw another page where right below the most important, like CTAs, call to action, they're very sensitive. You can break them very easily. Another example was it said underneath in some subtext, get more work done, which is very generic. No gimmicks, no credit card. No credit card, that's a really good benefit. No gimmicks. I haven't thought about the word gimmicks in, I don't know, a decade. But now I'm thinking about gimmicks. So they removed that, and as a customer of ours, I was critiquing their page down in Seattle. So they removed that, and they got 25% more conversions just by doing that. So be careful of these dangerous words around call to action.
Right there, that's freaking ridiculous. Like, so I have no spam on every place that someone could possibly subscribe to something on my site, and like the moment that you said, it makes complete sense to me, because if someone's come to, if you've gotten someone's attention and they trust you enough to click through to the page, and the page has built up enough trust and interest that they've actually considered clicking a button, they obviously are not thinking that you're going to spam them, right? So that makes, why would you put that? I mean, well, you have been a quotable machine today, so that was fantastic. I love that. And I also like
a real world example. You invite someone over to your house. It's summer, like come and hang out at the pool, and they're about to put their foot in the pool, and you shout shark. You're not going to want to get in the pool.
Yeah.
So.
Or there's no more sharks, don't worry. And then you're like, oh, so there were at one point. Would they come back? Is that what oh man, so that's really, really good stuff. That makes complete sense. And then just, does the position of does it matter, right, left? So one of the things that I tried for a while and ultimately decided that I didn't like for a couple different reasons, but this isn't necessarily particular to a landing page, but just I moved the text of my blog post from sidebar from the right to the left, right? So all of a sudden you're reading on the right hand side. I know some blogs do that. I hate it as a user, so I stopped doing it as a content producer. So it made me think, like, how does the positioning on a page work? Like, should it be way up on top? Should it be down on the bottom, right, left? Like, does that matter? And is there like a best practice kind of thing?
Yeah, I'll talk about a couple of different things. I read something amazing yesterday by a guy called Bart Schultz, I think his name is. He's a psychologist, basically a conversion psychologist. And he said that because most of the world is right-handed, people that are right-handed, same for left, prefer things on the right side of places because that's their dominant area. They want things to be attributable to their right hand. So putting, like, say you have an e-commerce site and you want to push one product more than the others, put it on the right-hand side because people are more likely to interact with that area. Similarly, if you have a form, people read left to right in the Western world, so opposite in different cultures. So put your information on the left and your interaction point on the right. So I consume this and then I go over here. I'm going left to right. In terms of other positions on the page, there's the standard, your call to action must be above the fold. The fold being a reference to a newspaper where it's folded so you can see it right away. And in digital terms, that's your screen size. Is that always the case? No, this is something you need to test because sometimes having it at the top is a bit too aggressive. Like, do this now. Well, I haven't actually, that's like asking for sex before you've even kissed.
Yeah.
Right? You don't run across the baseball diamond right to third base. You have to go round. So sometimes you should put your call to action at the bottom after someone's consumed some of your information. If you're going to do that, though, it's important to design your page in a certain way so people will get down there. Sometimes your page looks like it's complete at the top. So it's important sometimes to have design elements that show the page continues. Something that's really interesting right now is that if you use a Chrome browser on a Mac, the scroll bar is invisible until you start scrolling. So there's no indication there that the page is actually longer. So you need these design elements that show that you need to keep going.
That actually, I use Chrome on a Mac, and that anyone who does that had to get used to the fact that there was no indication, because now you just automatically give it a little flick to see if the page goes down farther.
Yeah.
I wonder if, like, once you get used to the Chrome browser, if that actually doesn't help having a longer page, because you do almost by instinct now, just to see if the page is longer, give a little flick with your fingers, because it doesn't tell you. So you're unsure. I mean, obviously, that's something that you would test. So we've been talking for 45 minutes. This has been amazing. So much information. I want to get to the questions, because obviously we have people here who've taken their time. They're asking really amazing questions. So I have 4 questions pulled out, so we're going to run through these. Okay. Some of them will probably be very quick. If they're longer, then we'll go. So let's pull up the first one here. This is from Tim Bain. Tim asks, if a visitor hits a landing page within your site and leaves, will that visit exit be included in your bounce rate?
Yes, so the bounce rate is essentially the exact opposite of conversion rate. Conversion rate is the number of people who did the action. Bounce rate is the number of people who left, didn't do the action. So there's a direct correlation between the two things.
Just a quick follow-up to that, should people be worried about bounce rate on a conversion? If you know that your site in general, the bounce rate is 75%, but on a landing page it's 85%, but it still seems good versus your industry or whatever, should you be concerned about that or no? I mean, it's one page in a course of a site, so it shouldn't be as much of an issue.
Right. I prefer to look at it in a different way. When you're thinking about optimization, making a page better through testing, there's different ways of figuring out which pages you should test thinking about your website at this point. And you do that often by looking at your analytics. So this is an important page. It gets a lot of traffic, but the bounce rate's high. So the potential business opportunity on this page is high because there's a lot of traffic there. But is it a transactional page? Are people actually going to do something from this page? If not, then maybe it's not as an important page to think about for that. So definitely looking at your analytics to decide where you're going to start optimizing.
Great. All right, so next question comes from Matt, and he asks, is there a better way to use squeeze pages other than getting people on email marketing lists for websites that have thousands of products? Could you mimic landing pages somehow on product pages?
Yeah, I mean, you should be applying these practices to your website as well. You're still going to need your navigation and that kind of thing, which is a distraction. But if you do have this many products and you don't have the facility to create separate landing pages for them, then yeah, just follow the same practices. That remove as many distractions as you can, get the attention ratio as low as possible, make sure your call to action is very, very clear. It has the right copy on it. It stands out contrast-wise. It's on the right-hand side. All these kinds of things they still apply. You still need that hero shot. You still need discussions of proof and that kind of thing.
Yeah, great. And maybe even it needs to be more focused because you're actually trying to get them to buy something, come out of their pocket for that product. The next question comes from Sarah, and I'm going to spin it just a little different when I actually ask you the question. But she asks, are there different tactics or techniques to convert web traffic for customers on an art site, or is it just simply like any other sales site? But particularly about this question, what I like and what I'd really like you to focus on is the idea of giving people an extra nudge. So you've done the classic 5 steps. Is there a way to then nudge them, like, okay, we've gone through the 5 steps, they're close. Is there a 6th or a 7th thing, or sometimes this little nudge works that gets people to the next step?
Yeah, I guess that comes down to your offer. Like if you're actually doing a promotion or something like that. So there's the psychological triggers, things like urgency, scarcity. So art, there's a good chance there's scarcity involved there. If you're doing prints, maybe there's more available. But if saying this is a limited edition piece of artwork, there are 250 prints, there are only 8 left. That's a sense of urgency. That might tip people over. If you don't mention that, it's not as valuable to me because it's not scarce. And that's also a sense of urgency. Because well, maybe these 8 will sell out quite quickly. Or if it's an offer, like 50% off Unbounce, if I said, but you can only get that offer if you go there now in the next 4 minutes. I mean, that's infomercial tactics, but they work. We often don't believe them, but they still work.
Yeah.
Urgency and scarcity.
It's funny how this is something that's always kind of been interesting to me, and it kind of circles back around to like the pop-up question and stuff like that,
Right.
where people hate pop-ups, yet test after test, study after study shows that pop-ups crush it for
Yeah.
capturing new subscribers. So it's like, even though some of these tactics as consumers we hate, they still get us to take the actions that the people want us to take. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, no, they really do work. Those, you're leaving a site and it pops up, hey, do you want to subscribe to this? There are some that are not so obnoxious, like that's okay. It's the ones that say, do you want this? And there's no escape route.
Yeah.
You have to find a way of closing it or saying no, and then you do that, and it's like, are you sure? Okay, cancel. And it's like, that's just something that can impact your brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always brand versus lead gen. You got to weigh up those things.
Yeah, I agree. I actually, and I hate to say this because I enjoy him as a professional,
Are you gonna say
Neil
it yourself?
Patel, right? I mean, he lost me as someone who goes to his site. I don't go anymore. I
Yeah.
refuse, because you get in and it's pop-up after pop-up after you can't get away, and then it's exit intent, and then the screen goes shadowy and this other thing pops up, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I can't get out of here.
Yeah.
And I've stopped. I mean, he's lost me as a visitor. I still will occasionally read something in an RSS feed, or and I appreciate his work, but I won't go to his site. It's awful. It's awful to go there that you can't get out, and I feel bad.
Yeah, every blog post has a bunch of people bitching about that fact. Love your content, but then really leave me alone.
Yeah. And it's hard because I'm sure that he looks at his numbers and his email subscribers and says, I'm killing it. And he probably looks at his bank account and he's killing it. The hard part, and maybe I'm not his consumer, so you have to think about that too. Maybe the people that don't like your offer or your pop-up or whatever tactic you're using just aren't your true consumers. But I will say I use Opt-in Monster for an exit intent pop-up. That's it. I don't use any other features, but I do use their exit intent pop-up. And I found it to be an incredibly valuable resource. I feel like it's not an interruption because you don't get it. It doesn't stop you from going to another page.
Right.
But it definitely converts at a really nice level, and captures people that I would have already lost. Well, Ali, this has been fantastic. We've gone 53 minutes of pure value, tons of great quotes from you and great ideas, and Tim Bain actually came back on and said, "Wow, taking the no spam off message today." So he loves that idea. That was really good stuff. So tell us, just where can people find you? Give us a little kind of outro on Unbounce, so people know kind of what this is, what you guys are doing, and how your product applies to these things we talked about, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah. Well, on Twitter, I'm on Oli Gardner. There's Unbounce as well, obviously. We share a lot of great information. We're very generous with our content. We produce a lot of high-quality content.
I would agree with that very much. You guys are very generous. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Unbounce.com. Well, actually, go to the landing page that's in the chat window there. One thing you'll notice there, this is a very important conversion tactic. I'll just kind of end on this one, I guess. It's something I call conversation context. So with an ad, like a paid ad, there's not much context. You search, you click an ad, there's not much context there. If it's coming from the context here is that you've been listening to me speak for an hour. So there's some familiarity there. And we're coming from an event. When you click on that link, you'll see that the first thing it does is it's co-branded. It talks about you and Unbounce. And it gives you a welcome about coming from here. And it's got my photo. So there's the momentum of the conversation we're having is passed along to the landing page. Every time I do this, we get about an average of 30 to 40% increase in conversions based on a generic kind of non-conversational page like that. But yeah, it's a really easy tool to use. Like I said, there's a bunch of templates. You can get up and running very quickly. There's no technical requirements. You can publish a page live with a single click. You can run A/B tests. Make a different version of your page, change the headline, change the call to action, see which performs better. There's a principle I like to talk about. Never start a marketing campaign without a dedicated landing page. Follow that principle, you will be more successful.
Yeah, I've got to send them someplace, right? If they like what you're talking about, you got to be able to send them someplace.
Yeah, never miss this is an example. Never miss an opportunity to end a conversation with, "Oh, and you should go here."
Yeah, that's
the call to action from this discussion.
Perfect. So everyone, I encourage you to track through the link, go to the landing page, check it out. I encourage you to try Unbounce. You get a month free, and then after that, if you using that thing, you get 50% off for the first 3 months after that. An incredible offer. Give it a try, but if nothing else, go to the page and just get a feel for what a landing page is done right, and some of the different features that we talked about, the 5 different features. And if you haven't yet, go to contentwarfarebook.com and pick up your copy of Content Warfare Book, my soon to be released first publication, How to Find Your Audience, Tell Your Story, and Win the Battle for Attention Online, distilled from all the great interviews and all the great experts that we've had on this show. Over 85 episodes. This will be show number 85. So if you're listening to this down the line, ryanhanley.com/show85 will get you to the show notes. You'll be able to check out this link, check out Unbounce, connect with Oli, and learn all the great stuff. I encourage you to subscribe to the Unbounce blog as well, whether you add it to your Feedly feed or subscribe by email, whatever. Tons of great resources there. So, Oli, thanks for coming on, man. Absolute pleasure.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And just actually a last bit of information. We're running a thing called Page Fights. Go to pagefights.com. This is me, a guy called Pep Laya, and Rand Fishing from Moz. He's our next guest judge. Basically, you submit landing pages and we tear them apart. It's a lot of fun. It's a Google Hangout like this, and we just rip into landing pages. It's really, really fun. So pagefights.com. Just check that out.
Yeah, that's an incredible trio right there. You ran. That'll be. It's gotten. You guys have done very well with the first one. I know that. I was talking to Tia, and this next set, especially having Rand in there, it'll be weird to see Rand being mean to people. He's a pretty nice guy, but it should be great stuff. And if you have a landing page, you want to submit it to that. I don't know if you guys are still taking them, but definitely check it out, because I have watched some of the early ones, and they're entertaining and very. You get a lot of information out of them too. So with that, we're gonna get out.